be great if everything was just easy peasy all of the time, and as medical coders, we were always 100% accurate on everything, just like we try to be. There are some common painful lessons that you may learn as a medical coder, but the good thing is that awareness of them will help you prevent some of those future pains. So, hey everyone, I'm Victoria. I'm a medical coder, auditor, educator, and content creator, and on my channel, I provide tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you be successful in a medical coding career. And today I'm going to talk about the 7 painful lessons that you will learn as a medical coder so that you can help either be prepared or avoid them in the future. If you haven't already, I would highly encourage you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can get alerts when I post new episodes. But first, let me tell you about our sponsor, OnlineDegree.com. I partner with OnlineDegree.com to give my viewers the best medical coding education experience they can have. OnlineDegree.com has developed a quiz that asks you the same questions that I would ask you if I was trying to pair you with a medical billing and coding school. So where are you located? How much are you looking to spend? How soon do you want to be done? And they will take all of that information and pair you with the school that is right for you. They're all about affordable education, and they're not going to bulk up your curriculum with all kinds of extra classes that you're not going to need to become a successful biller and coder. And they have special discounts that are just for my viewers, but only if you use my link here, go.onlinedegree.com/contempo. I will also link it in the description below, but make sure you use that link so you can get started in your billing and coding career today. Now, one of the first things that you're going to learn that's a painful lesson as a medical coder is that there's an exception to just about every rule. In ICD-10, we have our excludes ones and excludes twos, but there's exceptions there. There's coverage determinations that sometimes we see exceptions for. There's federal rules that sometimes there's a couple of exceptions for. There's general coding guidelines, but these coding guidelines, oh, maybe this insurance doesn't take them, so we have to go against the coding guidelines. So just about every rule that we have, none of them are completely 100%. There's pretty much something that's always going to be an odd exception. Or you may just encounter that your particular provider words things in such a way that it doesn't quite fit the puzzle piece of where we need it to be for coding. And even though it's like, yeah, I get it, but it's just not going to go there. And it can be a little frustrating going, okay, I think this fits here, but technically it doesn't. I think this is why some coders have such an extensive amount of notes in their books, not because they're making notes to themselves, but they're making notes of the exceptions or those little extra nuanced things that they like looking at one code and going, okay, don't forget you also have to code this, but only if it's Capital Blue Cross. Not everyone likes the term cheat sheet because it's like, who are you cheating? But reference sheet, it's the same thing. But those reference sheets can be made so that you know about those little exceptions that you're going to see frequently for that particular stuff that you're coding. There are very few coders that are a jack of all trades and know all things about all specialties. So once you're sitting for your certification exam, you need to have kind of a broad general knowledge. But once you get into coding, you can usually specialize in something. It's not like you're just getting reports from all over the place. Usually it's focused. You're doing neurosurgery and you're doing OBGYN, or you're doing internal medicine and you're doing pediatrics. It's not that you're doing anything from anywhere in the majority of cases. Another painful lesson that a lot of medical coders learn when they're starting out is that you're going to need more resources than just your coding books. When you're preparing to become a medical coder, your big goal is to become certified as a medical coder. So you need your medical coding books. Well, there's a lot more resources you're going to need other than just coding books when you're actively coding. You're going to need an encoder that can help you navigate things like CCI edits, the CPT assist, the coding clinic. You might need to look at the Federal Register. You might have to look at insurance guidelines, CMS guidelines, state guidelines. You're probably going to be reading the Journal of a HEMA or Healthcare Business Monthly to keep up to date on the changes. Depending on your specialty, you may even need specialty books or even down the line, some additional auditing resources. Now, this next painful lesson is one that is fairly common. It is certainly the one I have to hear about the most and I am the most sympathetic to. And it's that it can be difficult sometimes to locate your first medical coding job. Medical coding is a great career and there are lots of opportunities and you can grow phenomenally in this industry, but because there's so much interest in it, there are a lot of people that take advantage of the people that have interest in it, and they want to monetize on that, and they throw together some courses that maybe aren't adequate, or maybe they're just not adequate for you and your learning type, and they make it seem like it's just, easy to learn and it's not going to take much time. But for a lot of people, it does take more time because they might not understand medical terminology or anatomy, or they just need to focus more on their studies. And because medical coding isn't regulated in the way that, for example, practical nursing is, where you have to do clinical rotations, employers don't know if this particular candidate is someone who was just really good at passing the exam, or if they're someone who is really, really invested in this career. Because you have to remember, a lot of money is on the line if there are coding errors made. And unfortunately, some employers don't have the best training programs available for apprentice coders. I actually have a couple of videos, you can check this one out here, about the different job search tactics that will help you locate a medical coding job. So definitely check that out if you need some assistance with finding a medical coding job. Also, if you need your resume updated, a great place you can check out is projectresume.net, because they will help take your resume and make it sparkle and shine and come through when recruiters are doing different searches. So they know the keywords that need to be in there and how it needs to be formatted, so that when a recruiter is searching for a coder, your resume comes to the top of the list. So I will have my link below as well for Project Resume. Definitely tell them I sent you over. The next painful lesson is that you will make mistakes. And there will be days that you make mistakes and you question your entire career choice in medical coding or your entire knowledge of medical coding. Pretty much everyone I know has had those days. I have certainly had those days. When I was probably in my first year or two of my actual coding role, one of the things I coded for was transplants. And at some point I was trained that you can't code the code for end-stage renal disease unless the provider also documents that they're currently on dialysis. So I was taking all of these end-stage renal disease cases and coding them as unspecified chronic kidney disease because they didn't have dialysis status documented. It came up during an audit. My supervisor came to talk to me and I went, yeah, I said, you can't code end-stage renal disease codes unless it says dialysis status. I'm going to show you exactly where it says it in the ICD-10-CM book. And I opened up my ICD-10-CM book and sure enough, it was nothing there. I don't know where or how I picked that up, but I had been coding it wrong and boy, did I have the worst day after that because of it. It happens. It happens to me. It happens to my coding friends. It's happened to staff that I've supervised. It's going to happen to you at some point. So you can't beat yourself up over it. It's hard because we as coders assume that everything we're doing is 100% accurate. And when someone brings it back to us and says, yeah, this was wrong, that's daunting. If you want to be frustrated about it, I honor that frustration. You can be frustrated about it all day if you want, but you have to set a timeline of say, hey, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and we're going to start fresh and we're going to get over it and we're going to learn from this mistake and now we're going to be better. Another painful lesson that you may learn as a medical coder is that there are crunch times. A lot of the organizations I've worked with discourage coders from taking off at the end of the month. So if you're someone who always likes to take off between Christmas and New Year's, that can be a little bit tough because that's when all of the books get done, is at the end of the month. The providers, all their RVUs, everything shuts down at the end of the month so we can calculate everything that we did. We build out for that whole month. So they want everything to be done before that last day of the month. When I worked heavily in provider education, summer was a big crunch time for us because all of the providers that were residents were finishing up their residency. We were hiring them usually around late June, a lot in July, a little bit into August. And everyone wanted to take summer vacation, but we needed people to be there to educate all of the new providers that we were hiring. So even though it's a more flexible and very common work from home type of job, that doesn't mean that you can just take off whenever you want. And depending on the organization and the workload, there might be times where you have to do mandatory overtime. And on the topic of time, another thing that you may encounter as a lesson as a medical coder is that not all employers will help you out with your continuing education or even allow you extra time for your continuing education. Now, first off, let me say that some employers are phenomenal. They'll say, yep, you take as much time as you need. You can do it on the clock. We can pay for you to go to a seminar and that will count as a paid workday. Others, it really depends on the organization. If that's important to you, that is something you want to talk about during your interview. Ask them, do you have a financial allotment for continuing education for your coders? Do you have time off for coders to earn their continuing education units? I've had some employers that have had times where they've really cracked down and said, you cannot be doing webinars while you're on the clock. So if that's something that's important to you, again, bring that up during your interview as one of the questions that you ask. And certainly have the appropriate expectations. If you're a brand new coder, they're probably not going to drop $2,000 on you to go to a seminar in Las Vegas, but they may give you an appropriate time for a lunch and learn, or they might give you reimbursement for smaller seminars that are more local that you want to attend. Thankfully, there's a lot of free and cheap ways to earn CEUs. I have a whole video about that here, and I will also link that below as well. And the last painful lesson that you may learn as a medical coder is that you might be expected to know more things than just how to code. You might have to get involved with things like EMR functionality, process improvement, the charge master, charge scrubbers, even software like how to use Microsoft Teams or Zoom, or some functions in Excel. But the good thing is, as you learn and grow, you'll become more well-rounded and more valuable as a coder. There's a lot more higher paying, high-end, and often contract work that you can do in medical coding, but they're really looking for people that can hit the ground running. So the more you know about different EMR functionality, how to get into charts and navigate, how to use different software, how to log on to a VPN, you are much more valuable as a medical coder. And that's how you earn a lot more money as a medical coder, which reminds me, if you are interested in hearing about the first time I made over $100,000 a year as a medical coder, definitely let me know in the comments below, because I'm more than happy to talk about that in a video. And if you want to hear more about things to avoid, you definitely want to check out this video over here. It is 8 bad ideas that you will have as a medical coding student. I hope you've found this video helpful. Definitely let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.